Hundreds of miners work inside an active volcano here in Indonesia, battling toxic fumes all day long. They're mining sulfur, which locals call devil's gold. Working conditions here are so dangerous, many miners don't live past 50 years old.
Nama saya Mister, saya sebagai penambang belerang di Kawah Ijen.
Miners like Mistar carry up to 200 pounds of sulfur on their backs, up and down these steep cliffs. And Mistar's been doing it for 30 years.
Bawa belerang, mikul, itu sudah biasa, di pundaknya ngapal itu.
The sulfur is used in everything from matches and rubber to cosmetic products. It's even what makes our sugar white.
Nah, ini belerang yang bagus, tidak ada pasirnya. Ini yang namanya natural.
But most of the world's sulfur comes from oil and gas refining, making volcanic mines like this relatively obsolete. Yet these miners are still working, earning about $12 to $17 a day. Because in this remote part of Indonesia, it's one of the better paying jobs.
Walaupun ini keadaan bahaya, itu dah tadi, berani mati, takut lapar.
So why is this form of sulfur mining still happening? And what makes this such a risky business?
Nah, kalau saya bangun mas itu antara jam 1 atau jam 2. Sarapan dulu itu enggak ada lain mas. Ya cuma nasi itu mas. Dengan lauk pauk itu ya pakis kata orang sini mas. Jam segitu keadaan sekarang itu rawan hujan, rawan longsor di kawahnya.
This is as far as Mistar can go on his bike. There are no roads to the crater, so he has to walk the rest of the way. It's a 2-mile hike up to the ridge of Ijen volcano. He takes only his basket and a crowbar down into the 1,000-foot deep crater.
Kita mohon bisa didampingi lah, dikasihani lah dengan yang jaga di sini.
Here, he faces the volcano's extreme environment. The air can reach over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And he works near one of the world's most toxic volcano lakes.
Tapi itu asam. Asamnya seperti asam baterai. Itu memang berbahaya. Nanti kalau kena sama misalnya mulut sama gigi, dia rontok. Ya kan berbahaya. Dia bisa membunuh juga kalau sudah masuk ke dalam perut.
And there's the smoke.
Bau asap belerang itu sangat menyengat. Bau asam lagi kadang-kadang bau seperti gorengan telur. Tapi kalau masuk dalam hidung atau mulut itu sesak.
Ini mas, batuk ini mas.
He battles 2 types of sulfur smoke. The first comes from deep inside the volcano and is channeled through these pipes.
Kalau asap masuk dalam tubuh itu merasakan sesak, nyeri di hulu hati, sesak, nyeri.
While mining company PT Jandi Grimbi owns a license to run the mine, the miners are freelance contractors, so they have to pay for their own gear, and many can't afford gas masks. Instead, they use handkerchiefs or towels dipped in water to keep the sulfur powder from sticking. The second type of smoke is even more dangerous. It comes from the volcanic gases below the acidic lake, and it can be deadly. So if miners see big clouds of thin white smoke coming from the lake, they have to evacuate.
Kita harus menyelamatkan diri, harus lari kalau gas keluar.
That's why Mistar needs to get here so early. The winds pick up through the day, blowing more white smoke towards the miners. Both types of smoke have lasting health effects.
Untuk penambang di sini ya pasti ada yang sakit. Kadang waktu nambang sakit perut, kadang-kadang tergelincir kakinya, jadi sakit, kadangnya patah, itu ada.
But the smoke from inside the volcano is crucial for sulfur production. This is how it works. When the super hot smoke hits the cooler air outside, it condenses liquid and drips off the pipe.
Merah itu kan waktu netes itu jangan dipegang. Netes sama kulit aja digosok, itu kulitnya ikut seperti kena api.
As it solidifies and cools, the sulfur will turn yellow, and miners can begin chipping off blocks. It's the sulfur's two colors that give it the name Devil's Gold. Miners use their bare hands to move these blocks. Although touching solid sulfur frequently can cause rashes and blisters, Mistar says that as long as it's cool and yellow, the sulfur is fine to touch.
Dari bawah dulu disusuk, lalu diangkat. Nah, kalau ndak pecah dari bawah, baru diantam dari atas.
Pre-pandemic, the miners could extract up to 25 tons daily. But since 2020, they've been working in two separate shifts to socially distance. That's lowered the miners' capacity to only 10 tons of sulfur a day. Once he fills his baskets, Mistar hoists them up on his shoulder to hike back. But that sulfur is not a light load.
Kalau saya maksimalnya mikul, itu satu pikulan 70 kilo.
That's about 154 pounds. Mistar himself weighs just 132.
Nama punggung, ya pasti sakit mas di sini kalau berat.
Some of the younger miners can carry up to 200 pounds in one load.
Kan kadang-kadang di pundaknya itu kan sampai rusak. Ngapal itu rusak, itu kadang ada tumbuh-tumbuhan yang seperti jerawat itu penyakitnya kalau orang mikul.
They have to haul it up the steep walls of the crater.
Langsung naik pelan-pelan. Soalnya kalau nanti kerasa kerusuh malah bahaya ke diri sendiri, jatuh, peleset jatuh.
Some do the treacherous hike in flip-flops.
Kalau saya masih kerja merasa capek dari bawah, itu di batin saya itu mengucapkan mudah-mudahan cepat sampai di atas, selamat sampai.
Once he reaches the rim of the crater, Mistar can transfer the sulfur to his trolley and begin the 2 miles back. And he'll do this trip a second time today.
Menimbangan langsung timbang. Nanti berapa dapat per kilonya, selesai itu diturunkan langsung dinaikkan mobil.
Pekerja Grimby, the mining company, also owns this weighing station and the factory where the sulfur ends up. At the factory, workers boil the sulfur and run it through a series of filters. They have to remove any contaminants, like sand or dirt. Then they pour it out onto the factory floor to cool. The sulfur is loaded into sacks and sent to sugar factories nearby. It's processed into sulfuric acid, the world's most commonly used chemical. It's used in everything from matches, fireworks, and gunpowder, to detergent, paper, and batteries. It's what makes sugar white, and it's an essential ingredient in rubber products and even winemaking. But 98% of the world's sulfur comes from oil and gas refining. It's a byproduct of refining, and oil companies are required by law to process it safely. What's created is a lot of pure sulfur, a purity that's necessary for making products like fertilizer. Today, the sulfur industry from oil and gas is worth almost $13 billion and is expected to keep growing. And it's left natural mines and volcanoes unnecessary, especially since mined sulfur isn't as pure. It can be acidic or contain sand. Yet Ijen is one of the only places left in the world where people still mine sulfur this way. So why do they do it, despite the danger? For the mining company, it's easier and cheaper to get sulfur from Ijen. For the sulfur miners, the pay is a lot more than other jobs on the island, such as farming.
Misalnya kerja di bangunan, untuk gajian nunggu 1 minggu. Nanti kerja di perkebunan masih nunggu 2 minggu. Tapi kalau kerja di Kawah Ijen, walaupun kendalanya banyak, berbahaya juga. Itu untuk postur ekonomi itu cepat.
The mining company pays on the weight of their loads. They get about 9 cents per kilo. With 2 loads, Mr. can make $17 a day. The mining company did not respond to our request for comment on why the miners are paid so little for what's considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Another possible reason this mine is still open? Tourism. At night, visitors flock here to see the blue flame from the sulfur gas. During the day, tourists hike up to take in the vistas. Protected with their gas masks, they watch miners work without masks of their own. Some miners are now becoming tour guides or making sulfur souvenirs. The most keep working, as they always have.
50.000, ada 100.000. Ya ada tamu lokal juga, pengunjung lokal. Kadang-kadang dia minta foto-foto langsung dikasih uang. Kan senangnya itu penambang. Tidak pernah susah, walaupun pekerjaan sesulit apapun. Ya sebenarnya kalau tamu-tamu yang lain mancanegara, itu pekerjaan jadi penambang, ambil belerang, itu bukan pekerjaan yang dihormati. Malahan dia ngomong kasihan, kenapa ndak kerja yang lain. Itu kan sangat berbahaya. Itu untuk tamu-tamu yang mancanegara ngomong begitu. Tapi apa boleh buat untuk saya, sudah pekerjaan saya di sini.
At the end of the day, Mr. returns home to eat dinner with his family and rest. Ijen looms over them, a symbol of how Mr. provides for his family's lives, while it slowly takes his, a heavy weight to carry on his shoulders.